welcome to the table. My name is DM Midgarin, joined once again by our cast of wonderful and affordable role players. Tonight we're going to take a break from our regularly scheduled program of Cyberpunk to bring you metagaming, the good, the bad, and the horrifying. So, without further ado, I feel like we should start this segment off by defining exactly what is metagaming and what is a metagamer. Like, when you guys hear metagaming or metagamer, what is the first thing that comes to your guys' minds? As seems like you have some feelings on this.
I have a lot of feelings on a lot of things, but yeah, no, metagaming, I can't stand metagaming, using out of character knowledge and pretending your character knows it. Like, I hate that. So it's basically cheating in a game.
Everyone does it a little bit, and unintentionally.
Unintentional is fine. And I'm even fine if you say, hey, so I figured this out, but I don't know if my character knows it, and then like ask to roll for it. Totally cool. But just assuming your character knows something about some subject that you know because you read the monster manual cover to cover, that's where I'm like, ugh, I hate this.
I really hate it when
players catch themselves metagaming, and he's like, well, I know what this is, but I know my character doesn't know what it is, so I don't really want to know what it is. And he really tries hard to not metagame, which is kind of cool when you get players that are able to do that and prevent themselves from metagaming.
Oh, I definitely have a player that does that. They're like, oh, I know what this is, but I can't say anything. It's like every time I reveal a monster, just, I know what this is. I'm like, okay, calm down.
I know who that player is.
I think we all know. Well, yeah, I know who that player is too.
And sometimes there's things that you can do that aren't necessarily metagaming, like coming up with something creative out of the box.
Why do you feel like that they do that? Why do you feel like these players like use outside knowledge to affect inside the game?
Well, I mean, sometimes it gives advantage like to new players as far as that they've never played before, or if this is their first time sessioning, they could be like one of those guys like, hey, I know what this does, so I think this is what your character should do, but and they could encourage that. But it's also annoying because you're like, well, that character, you really don't, those characters don't know that either. You might know that, but how are you going to encourage characters to do the thing you want them to do when they're not really supposed to know what it's supposed to do?
I also think people do it because they want to win, and they think that's how you win, is knowing what you're up against. Like, they make it competitive, and it's not a competitive game.
I had a point with that. That's exactly what people don't get about role-playing games. There's not a win. You can't win role-playing games, but people that play video games, like, that's what I came back as a background before I came into role-playing. There's an end, there's a win, and it's hard to change gears into that, and it bleeds over sometimes for some people, and they're like, oh, I have an edge. Oh wait, right. Role-playing, I don't need to use every single edge.
In fact, like role-playing, you're like, okay, I've got 3 of these things, better not use them ever. They're only for emergencies. And then like you hit an emergency and like, no, it'll be for next emergency.
Or you can do something creative to kind of alter what he thinks is going to happen. He may know what it is, but then you can change something to try to make it unexpected. Like he's like, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, it just did. Thank you.
One of the things that I know about that I've had to deal with one time was a person that read the module cover to cover, so he knew where all the magic items were, he knew every boss, and then the DM that we had actually changed the module, and he got so mad about that. And we just kind of played off that the guy received false information. He's like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. Like, there's supposed to be something here. And he got extremely pissed off and almost rage quit because we weren't following the module exactly, because he didn't know what was going on at that point.
Well, it's like I'm running, I know some of you heard I'm running Curse of Strahd, and some of you may have played it, but I'm just throwing in some flavor, some RP type stuff, some things that are not really in the module to kind of keep the intensity going, the horror going, or just keep like strange things are happening, and I'm just adding some more flavor into what's already provided in a module.
Well, I think that's what DMs are supposed to do, honestly, like, especially with modules. Like, I look at modules as like a base, and then you can build off of that base. Like, they provide the setting and the characters, and then you can kind of use that as a basis and do your own thing.
So yeah, with Avernus, there was an NPC that was helping my characters. It wasn't really in the module, but they had killed one of the people that was important to their cult, and then the more cult was out to seek revenge on them. And at some point, and this wasn't supposed to happen, I just made it up. was that one as they were getting ready to be attacked, one of the bad guys killed the NPC in front of the characters.
So when we did Into Darkness, it was a module, and it's like basically it was three fights in the setting, and you guys actually created a more fuller story, just sitting around the campfire, role playing, during your rest and talking to each other. And I do agree with H there is that module should be a base, but you should definitely give the DMs creative freedom to change things around, not make it overly crazy where it's no longer the module, but there's always supposed to be some surprises.
That was pretty cool, and it actually helped them create the whole fight scene because now one of their friends just died. Now they're like, now we have to kill everyone because their friend just died.
That was me. I died.
That was so funny. I funny. I don't know if funny is the right word, but
I mean, it was pretty funny. It led to some hilarious conversations when I had to break out the second accent and fail miserably at both of them.
No, my favorite one was when your second character was this high-pitched, girly squeal, and then you halfway through the fight, you slipped into a Boston, a Brooklyn accent. I'm like, I was like, I was like, all right, well, Zenora's coming back in a weird way.
She was just,
I'm smiting over here.
She was being channeled by Jolly.
Right.
Jolly was like, someone died recently. I must channel their spirit and their accent.
Right.
Just glad people don't know about Morthos, because they'd be like, oh, you keep sliding into Morthos as Tink.
Oh my god, I think I mentioned that to
We've
somebody.
mentioned that almost every Cyberpunk game is like, hey, Morthos, what's up?
I notice I'm doing it, but I can't help it.
I'm waiting for the day that Tink ends up, that Tink's voice ends up in Morthos' voice. And we're just like, Morthos, did you visit Texas at some point?
I don't think we play enough Cyberpunk consistently lately that yeah.
Well, we should fix that.
We definitely need to fix that. We should play more Cyberpunk. It's a great system, even though we just spent all last week just bashing the shit out of the skill system.
No, I'm thoroughly enjoying the game. The skills and all, it's really fun. I can't wait to fight things again and introduce everyone to my character's third and final weapon.
Oh, I'm tired of this cliffhanger that we've been sit on forever now. I need to know how it ends. I need to know if I make it out of the security room.
But you say that you like my cliffhangers, so...
Yeah,
cliffhangers are always a love and hate kind of thing.
when there's a quick, okay, only gotta wait 1 week, and then we can figure out what's going to happen.
I know, and unfortunately, we've been dealing with illnesses and internet connections and space heaters and all that other stuff. But we're getting off topic, honestly.
Artie is just waiting on someone in the dick.
Right.
I got a question to bring us back on topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
A type of metagame, power builders. When you build your character so perfect with outside knowledge, just to get the win. That's another type of metagaming. When in real life, no one's built perfectly exactly for a role.
Well, yes and no. There are people that are specialized. Now, I have a problem with the Mary Sue builders, that are good at everything. But if you have someone that's, I'm really good at one thing, and that's the one thing that I do, and they kind of stick within their wheelhouse, I'm okay with that kind of power gamer. My character is really good at taking hits, so I have max HP and max AC, but I can't hit for shit, because that gives rise to the rogues, that gives rise to the spellcasters, so power gamers that are, I guess min-maxers are the best way to put it, but min-maxers are fine for me because... yeah, you're good at one or two things, but that's basically all you're good at.
So along those same lines, one of the only, I don't even know if it's metagaming, but when you're first creating a party and you're all right, so so-and-so is going to play a cleric, so-and-so is going to play a ranger, and you kind of discuss before the game, who's going to play what role. I don't mind that because that's just kind of balancing the party out.
Yeah.
I don't do that. So... and I don't encourage
it might be considered metagaming, but I think makes the game fun.
I think there are points. There are definitely points when metagaming is acceptable in role-playing games. Talking to players hey, guys, I really want my character to do this, and I kind of want my character to experience these kind of things. So, if the characters are in on the story, and they're like, okay, well, I understand why they're doing these things. Their character's trying to go through an arc. I get that. That's fine. But trying to control the story is something that I really can't deal with,
Yeah, that's hard. And that kind of makes it no fun for anybody, honestly, if everybody's got to have a little time to shine. It's a party, not a solo act.
And I think new characters have an issue with metagaming, especially like people that have never played the game and they don't know that they're metagaming, or they don't know that it's a bad thing. They're like, oh, I'm just trying to help everybody. I just want to help everybody. And, but like, yeah, but that's fine. You can help everybody you want to, but your character's not there. So you can't really interact with those people. It's like, well, we're not, my character's not talking. I'm just talking to them. It's like, yeah, don't do that. Don't talk to them. Just sit. Listen to the story. They're trying to do something by themselves. If they wanted you involved, they would have come talk to you about it. Don't try to inject yourself into their story. Don't try to, talk over them because they're trying to do something.
So I used to do kind of like LARPing, but it was mostly focused on sword fighting. And so if you died in the battle, then you had to kind of just hang out somewhere, and people would be like, "Look out behind you!" But they were dead, so other people would just yell, "Dead don't talk," and it just kind of reminded me of that. It's like, you're not there, you can't help him.
Right.
I know I've metagamed through build before. For instance, my character in a certain game had no idea that we might be running into some things that speak Draconic, but I did take that into consideration when I picked my sorcerer origin. So I know I've metagamed before, but some people take it to an extreme. They have no idea that they're going into a spooky area that might have, how do you, werewolf kind of creatures? But they're like, first thing they do, level 1, start. All right, I got to get a silver dagger. What? Why?
Well,
Just
I mean,
'cause.
so me personally, when I'm creating a game, I'll tell them, it's like, look, guys, these are the kind of things that you're going to experience in this world. My game is going to be centered around this type of people, So I ran one game, and it's it's going to be a lot of demon hunting. So one guy made a demon slayer. He took his skills into play. He built a character that was made to fight demons, and I was okay with that because I said, hey, we're going to be fighting a lot of demons. I mean, so having a demon slayer there was fine, and it wasn't really metagaming to me. It was just he was built for the story, and I was okay with that.
Yeah, if the DM says, "Hey guys, you're going to be fighting a lot of demons," wink, wink, yeah, I
hey
would
guys,
make
you're going to be
who's
hey
gonna fight
guys,
demons.
yeah, it's hey guys, there's going to be a shuttle involved. Wink, wink, hint, hint, and then somebody takes the use aircraft skill. I'm not going to be upset with that because I kind of need it for the story to move forward.
Dude,
I'm not
that
talking
took
about
some
DM.
thinking to get that too. I was like, how? Because it's not part of the solos build. And I'm like, how can I give this to her? How?
Yeah, then we found out that you can buy the skill via a cybernetic upgrade.
Yeah, buddy. And I put it into my backstory.
What I was referencing is, no, a character read the module ahead of time. DM did not give anything. He read the module, went and bought this thing because the module said we're going to enter just one little adventure has some were-rats in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to have a silver dagger for those were-rats. But DM changed the module, and when we got there, he had spent a bunch of his money, because you don't got very much early on this silver dagger, and he got there and there weren't no were-rats, and he was very unhappy, and he's just like, well, you shouldn't be reading the module ahead of time.
That's called cheating, my dude.
I guess that kind of goes into the next question is that what are ways that you can, what are ways for DMs and what are ways for players to curb metagaming? It's if you don't want to be a metagamer and you're trying not to be a metagamer, what are things that you can do or things that the DM can do that would curb that so everybody has a more enjoyable experience? Because at the end of the day, that's our goal, is to have people have a more enjoyable role-playing experience.
So you might have seen it but there's this thing on YouTube where they talked about this very thing about players and the players that metagame and how to deal with metagaming. One of the things, of course, they recommended is that, when you're playing and find a person that's metagaming, maybe pull them aside off to the side and talk to them and say, look, everybody's here trying to do a good job of trying to play their original players, and you're kind of messing up the dojo here by trying to metagame. Just so just try to help people out, but not try to encourage metagaming.
But how do you curb metagaming? That's, I guess, is the question. Like, what do you, like, when you take them aside, it's like, take them aside and, what do you say to them? How do you broach the subject?
I mean, you just have to find some common ground and make sure they understand it. That's something that shouldn't be encouraged. You have to play your character differently, because even though you may know what it is because you read the monster manual, from front to back, and know every ability of every creature, doesn't mean that that your character itself knows these abilities. There's ways you could probably come up with ideas for something that you think that you might be coming against. Like maybe it's a troll, and you're like, well, we're fighting him, not doing anything. Well, let me throw this torch at it and see if it does anything. And then you could try to curb a little bit of that metagaming.
So I was in a campaign once. This curbing the metagaming involved keeping a secret. So the DM wanted one of the characters to get taken over by a doppelganger. And eventually he ended up picking my character because he knew I wouldn't tell the rest of the group. Like, we had like a couple, and then there was a guy who kind of metagames, and then someone who was newer to the game. So he ended up picking me because he knew I wouldn't tell. And it took the characters a couple of months out of game, and we played weekly to figure out that my character wasn't my actual character. And it was the reveal was so beautiful. It was so worth it. So secrets, keeping secrets. That's a fun way.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sometimes all it takes is a helpful reminder that you are metagaming, because a lot of metagaming is unintentional.
I agree.
Okay. I've definitely have pulled characters aside, like, look, you're not there. You can't do this.
It's also like trying to encourage them. Like, if you want to help players, try to encourage them, like maybe help them realize that they can help other characters by maybe not metagaming, but just giving them ideas like what they can do, but not really giving away too much. But you still want them, if they're good players, and yeah, they might be metagaming a little bit, but they're not like being jerks about it. You can try to curb it a little bit, but you have to have a little bit of, make them a little bit humble, but don't disrespect them.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to be too harsh with them if they're innocently doing it. Just, especially with the newer players, you don't want them to think that they're overstepping, and then the whole game just isn't fun for them anymore.
And I do believe that, communication is the best key to this whole thing, because, without communication, people just don't know that they're doing it. I do know that there are people that definitely metagame openly because they want that edge, but I do agree with everybody is that most of them do it subconsciously, or is like, oh, I didn't know that was metagaming, or I didn't know that was, hurting other people. I want everybody to have a good experience. 9 out of 10 players are decent folk.
For the most part.
Who does have a metagaming horror story? Like, just someone that metagamed to the point where the game just was not fun anymore?
I don't know if I've got like a really bad one. I've had pretty decent groups. I've heard other people like complaining about metagame stories, but I don't think I've really experienced any in my disgustingly long D&D career.
The only one I can think of that would potentially have metagamers, because people have heard about it, they know about it, they've played it, Ravenloft. And the most popular theme in Ravenloft is mostly undead, lycanthropes, vampires. So you might find someone who's familiar with those campaigns or familiar with that and try to metagame because they already know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ravenloft. It's got a lot of things, but you can mix it up as a DM.
Back when I was a player in the Dark Ages, we had a person that he was 100% a metagamer, and he tried to get away with everything. And this was back in 3.5, and he wanted to make his own skill. He's like, oh, I have my character has its own skill. It was called Knowledge Monster. He had a knowledge skill, Knowledge Monster. So he could roll on any monster we encounter to figure out their weaknesses, their strengths, what they were good at. And I would also like to point out that the DM never said he could have that skill at all. He just wrote it on his character sheet and put ranks in it. Didn't tell anybody he did it. And then he kept rolling. And the DM was like, no, you can't have that. It's like, no, I have that skill. It's a legitimate skill that I have. I have Knowledge Monster. And like, come the fuck on.
So 3.5 was one of those systems where you could come up with a knowledge or a performance or something else, and you could write your own in. But yeah, no, you got to get that approved by the DM. You can't just make shit up and say it's okay because you say it's okay.
Speaking on performance, Orc, if you're listening to this, I really do miss your stripper bard. She was a lot of fun.
I bet she was.
She was teamed up with my character, the half-giant Ark, and we just ran over everything. It was glorious. It was like, I'm so confident.
Nice.
I brought a stripper for the after party. That was Ark's catchphrase.
Oh my god.
I know one thing. I bet 90% of people that have played, or probably even more, have played Curse of Strahd. Tell me you didn't go into that and didn't look up what a vampire's weaknesses in D&D were.
I mean, I didn't, but I played Curse of Strahd like 2 years ago, and I've been playing D&D for a lot longer than that, so I already knew them.
Yeah, but
I didn't look it up, but I did read Bram Stoker, so kind of knew what a vampire's weakness was because that's what the story's based off of.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of legends out there exactly what they'd be weak to and how it implements into D&D.
Yeah.
A lot of people that played that, I'd say 90% looked up vampires.
I have no doubt that happened, but I was in a game, like it was a text-based RPG, and the DM was kind of strange. Like, I'm not going to get into that. And they're like, Curse of Strahd's the best game ever. It's an original game that, they can't, it's like Curse of, like, Ravenloft has been around, like, I think it's in second edition.
Longer.
Yeah, way longer. And the story is loosely based off of Dracula. And it's like, no, there's this love story. It's like, yeah, like in Dracula. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
It's totally reworked Dracula, but...
It is totally reworked Dracula, but...
It's Dracula fan fiction. Let's just say it what it is. Dracula fan fiction. There you go.
Yeah.
So...
I had a Ravenloft campaign I ran before I started doing Curse of Strahd, just as a session 0, so my players could kind of get used to what happens in Ravenloft. And it's called Adam's Wrath. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Adam's Wrath, it's based off of Victor Mordenheim. And for those of you who haven't read the books about Victor Mordenheim, is that he created Adam, which is based off of a movie called Frankenstein.
I've heard of Frankenstein.
It's based off of a book.
And it is based off of Frankenstein. There is actually a book called Mordenheim. It's a D&D book, Ravenloft book. That whole campaign is kind of based off of that premises.
I miss Ravenloft. All of my stories from playing in Ravenloft are horror stories, but they're good horror stories because it's a horror setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was an absolutely fantastic campaign setting, and I am scarred for life because of it.
I bought the book recently, and I've been like flipping through it, and I'm like, ooh, this sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I just started buying Curse of Strahd this last Saturday, and just did my second session yesterday. So we're having fun with it.
But
I bet you'll continue.
But this is not a session on Curse of Strahd. This is a session on metagaming. Back to the plot.
But you asked for examples of it.
I know, and I do appreciate it.
Because you can easily have someone that can metagame, and especially if they've read any of the books, could use that to an advantage to metagame in a campaign like that.
Yes. The modules will be always a little bit harder to stop metagamers because people can just buy the books and read them. And the DM does probably have a little bit more work to do than if they drop them in a homebrew campaign. They're like, okay, well, we don't know anything about this world. It's like, that's kind of the point. I have played in games where I have the module. It was really tempting not to like flip through it. Like I will look at the module like after the session. It's like, all right, what did I miss? Because I know like that something didn't, because like something went horribly wrong. It's like,
so I do think there is one nice thing about Curse of Strahd, like at least from what I've never DM'd it, but I've played it once, and from what the DM was telling us was they have a kind of thing that helps to keep people from metagaming, and like based on what cards you pull during a certain scene, it depends on like what is going to be friendly towards you. Like I guess there's certain characters, certain NPCs in that module that if you pull their card at the beginning of the game, then they're friendly towards you and they become like allies or something. Like, so I guess in a way it kind of tries to curb metagaming in itself, that particular module.
So you're correct there, but there's only one person that does the readings for the characters when if they happen to go and meet her, and then she can tell their fortunes. And you're exactly right. In the book, you basically use tarot cards and the tarot cards have different meanings, and it's all defined out in the book.
So, gentle listener, stay tuned for an upcoming session run by H as she runs Ravenloft for us.
No, I run from Ravenloft. Run from Ravenloft.
So what day is that going to be on? I need to clear my schedule.
Right.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
At least someone's going to get fucked, right?
Right. Someone has to.
Thank you, Chief, for laughing at my stupid joke.
Yeah, I liked it.
I put a lot of effort in. About half a second.
All right, gang. We're getting close to the end of this. So is there any parting words that you want to give out to our fellow listeners that are maybe they're dealing with a metagamer and they want it to stop, or they believe that they may be a metagamer and want to curb their own habits?
Communication. It's a two-way street. Like, if you think you might be metagaming, ask your DM if they think you're metagaming, and then if there's any way you can make when it all fails, like, just use the dice. Like, if you don't know if your character would know this, use the dice and have the DM determine it for you.
Well, if you do happen to have a metagamer and you've talked to them and they are persistent about trying to keep metagaming, regardless of how many times you told them, hey, don't do that, the only other thing you can do is just not invite them back to your next session.
It sucks, but that's the learning lesson for them.
I'd say get some DM tips from this guy, because I swear, even if I had all your notes in front of me, you'd still surprise me.
I just got a message the other day. I think I shared it with one of you. I can't remember exactly which one. One of the characters messaged me just out of the blue. It was like, "You're a little shit, and I love you." I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you."
Oh, you shared that with me.
Oh, okay, I shared that with you. Yeah, and I was like,
great.
And I was just like, "Huh? Why?" It's like, because like what you're doing with this character of mine, because like they gave me a bunch of notes, a bunch of background. It's like, this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, and I took them and then I twisted them in the absolute worst way possible. It was like, my brother killed my father and overthrew the kingdom, and now I'm out for vengeance, and they're elves. Need to talk that. So like she's been gone for 40 years, and they get to the kingdom and they're ready for battle, and everything is fine. Like, he's a good king, everybody respects him, there's no tragedy or anything going on politically in the kingdom. United the tribes. And so this character is now going through some existential crisis, like, do I want to overthrow the king because the king's doing a good job? I don't know.
And now she's got a niece,
and like, her brother's like a good father, a good husband, like just on all around, just a stern person, but a decent person. And so now it begs the question, is like, what do I do? Like, do I continue on with my plans, or do I change up because do I evolve my character? So
it's great. Just watching her struggle every night, it's amazing.
Yeah. One of the things, though, I would say that during mid-gaming, we talk a lot about the Tuesday game, which is a game that nobody listening to this will ever, because we don't record that. Maybe we should. We should.
We represent so much.
Yeah. So in the comments below,
a big long special though, because like we should just record it without cuts, no editing, just like, welcome to the shit show, y'all.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it's going to be like, oh God, I got to go, baby aggro, and then like just me running away for like 5 minutes at a time. So it'd be...
Yeah, but then you get to listen to us talk.
Maybe some light editing.
Just minimal editing. Like, just so that they get the feel of like our true game.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun if I start just recording the Tuesday sessions and just posting them as is. Just have fun, gang. Just know...
Wonderful.
You guys want me to do that?
I'm fully in favor of this. Just because I love our Tuesday games, and they're such a shit show, but in a beautiful way.
I think that's what I'm going to call it, the shit show, but in a beautiful way. So tune in as the Sunday nights will start to present the Ashurian Chronicles.